Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Calleene Kenny. I'm the Director of Individual Giving at Berkeley Food and Housing Project. We're really glad to have this virtual gathering today where we can share more about what BFHP has been doing in the recent months, and also share about our partnership with the City of Berkeley, which we're very thankful for. So I will start with some introductions from your speakers. First, we have Calleene Egan. Calleene can give a wave. She's the Executive Director at Berkeley Food and Housing Project. And then the Honorable Mayor, Jesse Arreguín. And Jesse's here as well to talk along with Calleene about the past few months. You'll hear a lot today, but we will give you an opportunity to ask some questions. If those questions are not answered, we can address them at a later time for you guys in some follow-ups. So Calleene, feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Calleene. And thank you, Mayor, for being here this morning. At the start of the pandemic, the City of Berkeley reached out to Berkeley Food and Housing Project immediately to understand what our needs are in keeping our clients and staff safe. We currently operate our Dwight Way Center, which is a shelter for 64 men and women, and our Russell Street Residence, which is a boarding care for 21 clients. And at that time, we decided to open our shelters 24/7 to provide a safe space for clients to shelter in place. We perform daily wellness checks on all of our clients to understand if anyone has become symptomatic. And if they have, we have our partner organization, Abode, where they're able to isolate and quarantine until they're feeling better. Mayor?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this town hall and talk about our partnership with the Berkeley Food and Housing Project, which obviously goes back many decades. And I know we'll talk about the Berkeley Way project shortly, but I just want to thank the Berkeley Food and Housing Project and all the homeless service providers that are doing such important work during this time. We know that the impacts of COVID-19 have disproportionately impacted people of color and lower income households. And certainly people experiencing homelessness are most at risk of contracting COVID-19 as they have no permanent home. This is a key concern of the City of Berkeley, and so we've been working in partnership with many of our service providers, including the Berkeley Food and Housing Project. And I also think it's important that we focus on the safety of our nonprofit providers and their staff, particularly at some of our shelter sites where people are living in very close quarters. And so the safety of our clients and the safety of the nonprofits have been a priority of the City of Berkeley. And our overall concern, as well as the Berkeley Food and Housing Projects, is the safety of people experiencing homelessness who are living in our shelters and accessing services in very close quarters, knowing that physical distancing is essential to help reduce the spread of COVID-19. And so the city was able to actually bring testing on site twice for clients and staff, and we're very fortunate that all the tests came back negative. And in order to decompress our shelters and ensure that people have a place off the streets to shelter, as well as to do so in a way that is maximizing social distancing, the city has partnered closely with the Berkeley Food and Housing Project to develop quick and responsive solutions. And as some of you read in Berkeley side just a day or so ago, Berkeley Food and Housing Project is working in partnership with the City of Berkeley on a new initiative to move clients into 18 RVs and into a single family home owned by the City of Berkeley. And we hope to be able to expand that as we add additional capacity. And just know that that's not all the city is doing. From homeless outreach to our lifelong street outreach medical team working to provide outreach and medical care to people who are living on our streets. And there's a lot more that we have to do. So we remain committed to continue to access hotel rooms, look at accessing permanent housing, and provide shelter to get people off the streets and to ensure that they can shelter safely.
And we're very grateful for the support during this time. We've had city staff delivered PPE to all of our sites at all hours of the day and sometimes even the night. So the support from the city has been incredible, and we wouldn't have been able to get through this without you. So thank you, and thank you for recognizing the safety of our employees as well. It's very important. As we expand programming into the RVs and the single family house, we are going to be expanding our meals program as well. We are currently providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner to our Dwight Way Center, and we will be doing a delivery service to the RVs and the single family house. And we feel that, you know, as our name says, food, food is essential, and we want to make sure that everyone has what they need in order to shelter in place safely. We're also still currently doing our community meal as well. And what we have done, instead of having a communal setting, we've decided to pack the community meals into go bags and hand those out to people in need. So that's been really successful in helping us, you know, reach our clients exactly where they're at. We also have 6 veterans teams across Northern California that have been providing outreach in Alameda County as well, and the city of Berkeley, getting veterans off the streets and into hotel rooms. So far, we have placed 85 veterans and hope to place a lot more in the upcoming months. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, we have still progressed along with Berkeley Way, which is the building that we are in partnership with the city of Berkeley and Bridge Housing, anticipating building very soon. We thought we had planned for the groundbreaking to be this spring, but we have had some setbacks due to COVID-19 and are anticipating a groundbreaking hopefully next month. We anticipate that construction will take about 2 years. The total project has about 186 units, and the total development cost will be approximately $120 million. BFHP's partner and developer Bridge Housing will build 89 units of affordable housing on one side of the building, and BFHP will build 53 units of permanent supportive housing, along with 44 temporary housing beds and a community kitchen. Mayor, is there anything you'd like to add to the Berkeley Way project?
Absolutely. Well, I am so excited that we are finally at the point where we're going to break ground. And I'll be honest with you, there were moments where it didn't seem like it was possible. You know, this is the most complex affordable housing project the city of Berkeley has ever done, because it not only involves building affordable housing for low-income families, but also a separate building that will provide emergency shelter, beds for homeless veterans, as well as permanent supportive housing. And the vision for this goes back several decades, actually. When I served on the Downtown Area Plan Advisory Committee, probably 14 years ago, we were talking about redeveloping the Berkeley Way parking lot to build affordable housing. At that time, Berkeley was facing a homeless crisis, but it is not as nearly as acute as it is now. And so over the years, this vision, which was also driven by Terry Light, the former executive director of the Berkeley Food and Housing Project, we worked in very close partnership with, and Bridge Housing, you know, came to not just be an affordable housing project, but a place where people who are struggling in the streets and experiencing homelessness can have a permanent home to live. This will be the biggest permanent supportive housing project in Berkeley history. And the idea of having shelter and services and permanent housing on site, and to help people transition literally out of homelessness into housing, is such an exciting concept. So I have been a passionate advocate for this project for many years, and have worked very closely with our city staff, with Bridge, and with Berkeley Food and Housing Project to move this forward. And I really think that this project can serve as a model for cities throughout California, and how we can transform a surface parking lot in the heart of our downtown into an integrated center for homeless services, for low-income housing, and for wraparound services. And I'm just looking forward to being able to not only help break ground, but also to cut the ribbon. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who worked so hard over the years to make this happen. And the city has invested significant time and money into this project because we believe in this vision. We think this is essential to Berkeley's plans to end homelessness. Our goal must continue to be to end homelessness, not to address homelessness, but to end homelessness. We know that housing is the solution to ending homelessness.
Thank you. Well said. I 100% agree with you. And we're very thankful to Terry Light, the retired ED, for her vision and her perseverance, the City of Berkeley for your continuous support, and of course our partner, Bridge Housing. It took a great effort on all parts to make this happen, as you said. A little bit more specifically on the service and rich side of the Berkeley Food and Housing Projects side of the building, which is about 44,000 square feet. We plan to have partners like Lifelong Medical and Berkeley Mental Health on site to provide services to clients. And as we described, it will have a community center on the first floor where we will host our community meal. It will have an industrial or a commercial kitchen. On the second floor, we will have a shelter for 32 men who are experiencing homelessness and 12 beds for transitional housing dedicated to veterans. And on the third through sixth floors will be our 53 units of permanent supportive housing. We're very, very excited to bring this to Berkeley. Yeah.
And, you know, as I mentioned, the Hope Center is the largest permanent supportive housing project for the homeless in the city of Berkeley. And the city has contributed $27 million in funding. I think this probably represents the largest investment Berkeley's made in an affordable housing project. And that's because we believe so strongly in the vision for this project. And we think it's a very critical piece of our strategy to address homelessness in Berkeley. And we were able to leverage a variety of funding sources, including Alameda County's Affordable Housing Bond Measure A1, the state's No Place Like Home program, the state multifamily housing program, the Healthy Housing California program, and the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program, or cap and trade. And I think this is one of the first cap and trade projects that's been funded in the city of Berkeley. And what's key to emphasize about that particular funding is not only is it providing, I believe it's around $19 million in funding to help construct the project, but it's also supporting a variety of transit and pedestrian improvements around the project site, knowing that we need to also plan the entire area to promote sustainable transportation. And so some of the improvements that are going to be funded through the cap and trade funding include improvements around the North Berkeley BART station, improved bike paths, and also a zero emission bus for the city. So, you know, we set a pretty ambitious goal when we initially launched the RFP process in 2013 to really make this a model green project. And I think with the investment of the state of California through the cap and trade program, we're able to realize that.
Yes, and we're very fortunate and grateful that we are able to do that. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to the Berkeley Way project or to our collaboration in response to COVID-19?
Well, you know, once again, I just want to thank the Berkeley Food and Housing Project for all of your work and collaboration and for responding so quickly. I know this is a challenging time for all of us, and we need to prioritize the safety of our nonprofit partners, but more importantly, the safety of our clients. And I just really appreciate your willingness to work with the city to help safely transition people into, well, what we initially were hoping to be hotel rooms. And unfortunately, that didn't materialize. And then to continue to work with us to find a solution. And I just want to express my commitment to continuing to work to expand, you know, whether it's trailers, whether it's sanctioned encampment, whether it is buying or leasing hotels, to continue to expand that shelter capacity so we can get more people off of our streets so they can shelter in place safely.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership at this time. I personally think you've done a remarkable job leading the city through this pandemic. So thank you for your support as well. Calleene, do we have questions from the audience?
Yes, we do have a couple of questions from various mediums, which we are streaming to. So anyone, please feel free to enter them in the chat here as well. But I will start off with a more general question for you guys. What can the community do to help during this time? And what have you seen to be kind of proactive and effective solutions from the community?
Well, I can start that, and I'm sure Calleene can add on that. You know, I've been really amazed at how our community has really rallied during this difficult time. You know, we know that some people have contracted COVID-19, their families have been impacted by COVID-19, people have lost their jobs, people have seen a reduction in income, people are sheltering in place, it's really challenging. Parents are doing distance learning with their kids while also simultaneously working at home. We've all had to adjust this new reality, but I'm just really amazed at the commitment of the community to really addressing this crisis and taking very seriously the threat that this poses to the health and safety of everyone. But also the concern that's been shown to the most vulnerable. I think that's really been shown in a variety of ways. All the donations to the Alameda County Food Bank and the Berkeley Food Network and all of our food pantries, volunteering at the Berkeley Food Network, donating meals, helping support Operation Helping Hands, which is providing meals to unhoused people in our community, donations, it all makes a difference. And I will just note that most people got a $1,200 stimulus check. And so we encourage you to donate a portion of that to the Berkeley Food and Housing Project to support the amazing work that they're doing, because not only is it important right now in this pandemic, it's also important afterwards, because we know that there's gonna be an increase in homelessness as a result of COVID-19. Sadly, that the impacts of this pandemic have been felt disproportionately across race and income. It has just shown the enormous divides that we have in our country. And we need to make sure that we have a safety net. And I think it's gonna be the responsibility of the community and the state government to step in and do that, so that our most vulnerable and our residents who are also struggling have access to housing, shelter, healthcare, essential social services, and basic needs. The basic needs issues are not just affecting the homeless, they're affecting our residents as well. So please give what you can. Please volunteer time, because it is making an impact.
I will echo that, and first want to thank our community for supporting us. We've received an incredible amount of donations at this time of handmade masks, handmade hand sanitizer, dry food goods, and it's really been helpful and impactful. So if that's a possibility that you're able to make, we would greatly appreciate the continued support, but we have really felt the effects of our community rallying around us and helping us through this time, so thank you.
I forgot to mention one more thing, which is we launched a housing retention program, which is providing one-time cash grants to people that are facing eviction or housing insecurity due to loss of income. And you can donate to that as well by going to the Berkeley Relief Fund website to help also provide that funding so more people do not become homeless. While we need to serve the needs of the homeless, we also have to stem the tide of homelessness as well.
Thank you. I think we have a few more questions for you guys. This one relevant to Berkeley Food and Housing Project in terms of staffing. You guys have both alluded to the response on the part of the organization, but if we could talk a little bit about the shift in staffing due to the pandemic.
Sure. Yes, so since we've had our shelters open 24/7, that has an increased need for staffing, and we've been fortunate enough to pull from teams from across our 6 counties to come in and help us with keeping our shelter staffed 24/7. We've also thankfully to the city of Berkeley, have been able to bring testing on site twice and have been able to get staff tested, which has been really helpful. So we're really proud of, the work that we do, and I'm really proud of our staff who have stepped up and they've been resilient through this entire pandemic because of their passion and dedication to our mission, which has been inspiring to me every day.
And if I can just put in a plug for our city staff, we completely had to change the way that we operate our city government. We activated our emergency operations center in late January. We've been working nonstop, literally from February on, to plan for and respond to this pandemic. And I'm just really amazed and appreciative of our incredible city staff who have been working in partnership with our nonprofit partners to help address this emergency in a number of ways. And we will continue to work in partnership.
I would like to add to that. It does feel like we have additional staff from the city, so we have definitely felt those effects. So thank you.
And I know that there was a question around, I guess in the chat function, around sort of outreach and serving encampments, and that has been a particular focus of our city staff. Our homeless outreach team, in partnership with some of our nonprofit partners, have done ongoing outreach to many of our encampments in Berkeley, have provided sanitation kits and food and water. The lifelong street medicine team has been out there doing direct outreach and helping connect people to medical services. We're doing testing at our different shelter sites, and we're working to try to get people out of encampments and into shelter. So please know that there is ongoing outreach happening at many of our encampments, including at the encampments at the Interstate 80 University and Gilman on-ramp and off-ramp. We will continue to pay very close attention to the needs of people that are living on our streets.
It looks like another question is, how is BFHP working with Berkeley Mental Health to serve people living with mental illness and or substance use problems? So we are partnered very closely with Berkeley Mental Health. Our boarding care that I mentioned, Russell Street, we operate that in partnership with them. And, they've been readily available since the start, previously readily available, but even more so since the start of the pandemic, in response to anyone that might be experiencing more symptoms than usual due to the current environment. And so we are very appreciative and grateful to Berkeley Mental Health as well.
Okay, one more question, sorry. This one is relevant to the Hope Center. Can you talk a little bit about what the Hope Center will offer the homeless community that differs from current available resources?
I can jump in, and if you want to add, from the city's perspective, this is about creating homes. This is about creating community. This is about making sure that people get the services that they need and support to be able to stay permanently housed and to be self-sufficient. That's very different from a lot of our other affordable housing projects or shelters. We have evolved over the years in how we have provided homeless services to where we know that the continuum care model and just providing shelter is not going to solve the problem, that housing first is the solution. And so from the city's perspective, we see this as a very critical piece of our efforts to end homelessness.
The Hope Center is, the way it's structured and built is that the first floor is going to be our community meal. It's going to be a community center. So it's going to bring everyone in the building together in one place. And the vision of Terry Light that we've been sort of discussing through this whole virtual town hall was that, the people that would be living in the permanent supportive housing units, they would be having dinner with the men living in our shelter, and they would, essentially communicate and start talking about, how they had previously been in the shelter, and then were able to transition into permanent supportive housing. So there's going to be this peer mentorship on site as well. There's also going to be services on site. Like I previously mentioned, Lifelong Medical Center, they'll have an office space on site along with Berkeley Mental Health, which is very different from how we currently operate. So it's going to be service enriched, and it's also really going to encourage residents to interact and communicate with one another.
There is an additional question in the chat regarding the selection process of those that wish to be a part of the project.
Yes, so it'll be the same process that there currently is, which is through our coordinated entry system.
And then I also, Calleene, saw a question about the ongoing efforts to try to identify hotels. And if I can just address that very briefly, we were very disappointed when the contract between the county and La Quinta fell through. I mean, we were literally getting ready, working with Berkeley Food and Housing to transition clients out of the Dwight Way shelter into those hotel rooms and some of our other shelters. And then right when we were ready to do it, we learned that the agreement fell through due to the owners' intransigence, honestly. And I will note that that hotel's largely empty right now, so the owners losing income. But you know, our work continues. Our staff are working on identifying other hotels in the city of Berkeley. We may not be able to lease a whole hotel, but we're trying to see if we can enter into some sort of agreement to lease a hotel. We may be leasing rooms or floors in other hotels, but I just want everyone to know that our work is continuing to identify hotels and look at how we can partner with Operation Room Key that the county has lifted up in partnership with the state. I long-term think that what we need to look at doing is buying some of these hotels. We know that we're seeing a complete change in our economy, where we're going to see less and less tourism, unfortunately, and our real estate market is changing. And I think that presents an opportunity, hopefully through support of the state of California, to be able to buy permanently these hotels to provide permanent housing. And so we are also looking at those opportunities because we think that that could also add capacity for permanent supportive housing.
That's great.
Okay, guys, I think at this time we might need to wrap things up in the interest of everyone's time, and we appreciate everyone spending their Friday morning to talk about these important issues. And as the mayor so eloquently stated, you know, our work continues, and we can't do it without the support of these great communities. So thank you everyone for being involved. If you guys have follow-up questions, I know there's some questions we were unable to get to, so we'll be sending out a follow-up communication. Please look to follow us on social media and keep up to date on what we're doing to address the ongoing epidemic. Mayor, thank you so much for your time and your ongoing contributions. And Calleene, thank you as well. Yeah, thank you everyone for your time. We're very appreciative to share.